You're about to witness the finest hypercar race I've had ever on any platform, any sim. This was a frenzied bloodbath from start to finish. It just got better and better and more intense as the race drew to a close. So strap yourself in. I think this was a journey, especially at Sebring Sunset. I've taken a shine into the Porsche 963. Drives well, sounds great, and just clicks with me. So let's get into it. The race format is 40 minutes of Sebring with Multiclass, LMH and GT3 together. No fueling required, no pit stop required, just a flat sprint from lights to finish. So now it's time to wait for the green light to go, and I don't know about you, but I find myself having to time my blink. It's like a staring contest. Don't blink or you'll miss the green. Sometimes it feels like the green light waits for me to blink, but no, here we go, off to a good start. Get a good run with the Toyota in front, but not much we can really do with it. I peek out the side just so I can spot the wall coming up for turn 1, but it still throws me off. I get caught, the Ferrari behind gives me a clatter, a bit of damage to the rear diffuser, but not much to really say about that. You just got to drive it and see what you're left with. Too wide through the first sector of Sebring, quite tight on the inside. I'm trying to stay left to keep myself out of the way of the right column and try to just eke out that space, and gladly the BMW and Ferrari behind get in each other's way a little bit, and now we go round the curve to this glorious sunset effect in LMU. It's very, very convincing. I do love it. It brings you a sense of peace when you're trying to find your braking point for that really difficult hairpin. Accelerating out of that turn, we get an inexplicably good run on the Toyota ahead, not sure why. Try and move out to claim the inside line, but he's got it covered off. He leaves me less than the minimum I need, so I have to just slot in behind. Some chaos going on behind as well, which is good for me. Takes the pressure off as I try to establish where I am relative to this Toyota ahead of me. Coming out of tower, looks like things are settling down a little bit. By now the tyres will actually be getting into their operating window, where it actually feels like the car drives properly and normally with taut tyres and high grip. But this is looking to be good. I love Sebring. I love the track. It just has this kind of place in my heart. I've had some great races on this particular circuit in iRacing, loads and loads and loads. So now, coming into LMU and experiencing a Sebring race for essentially the first time properly, glorious sunset into Sunset Bend, getting into the groove, and little puff of smoke coming out of the Toyota ahead of me gives me a bit of confidence. It's well, we all know what demoralising means. I don't know what the opposite of that is, where morale goes up rather than down, but tiny little tyre grabs like that make you think, yeah, we've got a fighting chance here. Might have gained some time on him if I hadn't have been socially distanced from that apex at turn 1, but on we go. Now, I'm not going to talk all the way through this video. I know you love the sound of my voice, God knows I do, but I'm going to step back and just allow the car to kind of speak for itself a little bit, and that's definitely to give you an immersive kind of stretch of video footage that makes you feel like you're kind of in the car enjoying Sebring just as much as I did at the time. It's definitely for that reason, and not because I can't think of much to say in this kind of preliminary filler area before the chaos starts happening. So here we go then, this is where the fun begins. Cluster of hypercars in front of me, all getting into each other's way, some going off track, some going on the grass. This brings me right up to the exhaust pipes of that Toyota ahead of me, and here we go, things will get interesting. Now, as you can see, up on the Delta on the left hand corner, in some corners, me and the 3 cars ahead of me, so the 4 of us, all get compressed into a time window of literally just 1 second. So we're all getting just squeezed and bowled up in every corner. You know what that means. Always produces some quite nifty racing, and that's even without dishing out the odd GT3 here and there as the Toyota darts around him in typical hypercar skittish fashion, kind of leaving it till the last second to decide which way to go. We're all just hitting these curves like we do not care. At this point, it's not red mist. It's the wrong term for what's happening now. It's driving without care. It's just driving with literally just the back of the car ahead of you stamped into your brain, and that's all you care about. You don't care about tyre wear, you don't care about curb usage, you just think to yourself, they are so close, I need to get them no matter what. And don't worry, that's not your USB notification noise, that's mine twiddling with something while I'm recording this replay. But storming down the back straight at Sebring, glorious sunset, never gets old. That sunset lasted for about 15 minutes in the race, and it was just beautiful. Very calming before you go through the stressful sunset bend itself. And we go screaming down to my favourite corner in all of sim racing, I reckon. Turn 1, little cluster of smoke from the Toyota ahead of me, grabbing the brakes. No ABS on these, and it's my turn now to cut the grass, it seems, keep it nice and trim. Into the first sector of Sebring. Lovely technical set of corners, and I love every part of Sebring, I really do. I think it is my favourite track, generally speaking, especially under these conditions. I keep going on about it, but that's because it just is that lovable. Down into the hairpin, just occupying the middle of the road because I want to try and get into the mind of that Toyota a little bit, sort of distract them, just leak a few brain cells away from their concentration so that they're thinking less about their braking points and more about what I'm doing. Again, just hovering, just being a bit of a little fly in the mirror, doing some weird stuff, just trying to do what I can, because on pace alone they've got the edge, just a slight edge, but it is an advantage nonetheless. I'm not going to beat them by pace alone. I need to stifle them into an error so that I can get alongside and maybe make a move. But so far, when it comes to the second half of the lap, that's when the convoy of cars that we're in tend to stretch out a little bit. I'm not that good at this last sector either. A bit of jostling up ahead, Porsche and BMW trading places, and that's only making life harder for my target, the Toyota ahead of me. But there's tension building in the air. I think everybody in this group of cars knows that something is going to happen. There's mistakes happening, people are cutting the track, brakes are locking up, little puffs of smoke in the technical braking zones, a lot of movement left, right, a lot of side by side just in front of us. That Porsche and BMW ahead of us just seem to be tripping over each other a little bit, and that's going to compress us all into some kind of action moment. Again, right up on the tail of that Toyota. That's a particular corner that I do love and I do think I'm really good at. Just keeping tight in seems to work, and now a chance to get alongside, but he squeezes me off and there's nothing I can do. I got 2 tyres on the grass and it slows me down. I gotta just tuck back in. Another wild weave just to see what I can do, because no ABS in these hypercars. If you make a mistake, it tends to be pretty fatal because they seem to take so long to recover from a lockup. If you can goad somebody into snatching the brake a bit too hard, then you've got yourself a really good chance. But he maintains control beautifully, and we're now into the mid sector of the track, into Tower Corner, which I think is probably one of the hardest to judge. It seems as though you either nail the apex or you're about 10 million miles away from it. A very challenging corner, regardless of having done it 1,000 times along the way. It's impossible to perfect, really is. GT3 traffic starting to play a part here. And that Mustang sounds lovely in my left ear as I pass by it, but now we are starting to filter into the back end of the GT3s. There's P16 in the GT3 class just going through Sunset Bend now. We're not going to catch them, the three of us, the BMW, the Toyota and me. And this is where you got to have your fingers crossed that you're going to catch them in time to pass by in turn 1, because if I don't do that, if I'm behind that Lamborghini in turn 1, then my chase for the Toyota is pretty much toasted. I'm not going to come back from that. Luckily get past him before turn 1, and the battle is maintained. Balance is restored. I'm still in with a chance. If I could just keep this pressure up, keep piling it on, a little wiggle from the curb there, lifting that right rear up, and probably giving that left rear some trouble, trying to maintain grip. But if I can keep this up, as the sun's starting to actually go down behind the trees now and not be such a bright glow when we're facing that end of a track, a stricken Porsche up there. I think that was actually the previous leader. So there's one freebie for all of us. And heading into turn 10, one of my favourite turns on the track, a pretty hairy moment, a confidence rattler, so to speak. Back end getting loose, snapping under braking for some reason. Doesn't happen very often there, but it's happening now. I feel as though the frenzy of chasing a car ahead leads you to making these sort of scrappy mistakes, and you kind of, all you got to do is wish that the car in front also suffers from the same effect of being chased. It's all you can really do. This is what I meant when I said earlier that this was going to be a scrappy kind of reckless race, and it really is like that for the rest of the race. So stick around, it just gets better and better and better. And you know, I only make a race video about the ones that are really noteworthy. They're so rare, and this one was really one for the ages. Heading through Sunset Bend, a little bit stabby on the throttle, on, off, in and out. That tends to mean that I'm driving by instinct and not really thinking about it. So the rough edges of telemetry that I see in my own pedal inputs, they don't feel like a problem at the time. They only look ugly afterwards. You know, when you're in the moment, the adrenaline just takes over and it just makes you drive by feel and by instinct alone, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because it keeps you locked onto the car in front, but it also means you're probably giving away a bit of that time. Now we're really starting to cut through the middle of that GT3 filling. We're starting to come up onto the tail end of the main pack of the GT3s. Another little lock up or brake grab from the Toyota ahead. He seems to be really on the edge under braking, slicing through the pack left of the McLaren and then swinging right to the BMW. That's how it's done right with GT3 traffic. You know where the gap's going to be, so you aim your GTP at it. So good on them for just maintaining a predictable line. The Toyota and BMW ahead getting a bit caught up behind the Mustang. I hold back so I can get a good exit out of the tower. Maybe I can carry some more inertia coming out of it that will make up for the time lost being behind it through the corner. But the saving grace of this, I might have lost a bit of time to the Toyota ahead, but he is also closer to the BMW in front. So when two cars are tangoing ahead of you, you can pick up the pieces from that. And there we go. BMW moves over to try and shake the Toyota from behind him, and Toyota's staying underneath him. This, maybe not this lap, but surely through the next couple of laps is going to produce some kind of move, an attack or a defense that's going to allow me to come up right up behind them and take advantage of it somehow. Let's see what we do. Porsche gets caught by the BMW in turn 1, holds up the Toyota badly. I'm right up behind them, but there's nowhere for me to really go at this point. Porsche is still alongside me to the right of me through the Sector 1 turns of Sebring, and there was a chance there, but in the end it kind of all worked out evens in the end. So there's plenty more time for GT3 traffic to play a part in this. It's all part of the game. Two BMWs stay right. I think about slicing through the middle of them and sort of cutting on the inside of a green BMW, but it's not worth the risk. There's still so much time. Somebody gets taken out in the hairpin. Not sure why, couldn't quite see to the right of me, but we are now right up the diffuser of that Toyota. He goes deep on the inside. I'm thinking to myself, there's a chance to make an impact here and lose it. Completely lost the marbles. Even managed to spatula the car around a little bit on recovery as well, losing even more time. And all of that tension that was wound up in that battle that was due to take place just releases all at once. It's like an elastic band snapping, and you're just thinking to yourself, get back on it, come on, let's see what we can do from here, because we're still 16 minutes into the race. There's still 25 minutes to go. GT3 traffic can play an awfully large part in catching up to them. They're only 6 seconds up the road to the next GTP. It's more than doable if I'm lucky with my traffic, and as we go through Sunset Bend again, I wouldn't call that lucky, but I just hang back for the first half so that I can cut underneath them on the exit and try to get good momentum. That was a bit clumsy, wasn't the best, but the dice is rolled and it just didn't work out well for me that time. The prototype up ahead is actually a lapped car, so not of interest to me. He ducks well out of it, catches me a bit by surprise. Stuck underneath a Mustang through the sector 1 turns. A little bit painful, but the traffic gives and the traffic takes, and I'm just going to have to hope that it swings back my way at some point. I've always got an eye on the delta up on the top left to give me an idea of how much the GTPs ahead are suffering. The gap to Bar up ahead, 5.7 at the minute, and the gap to Sandor ahead of him is really, really low. So maybe they are going to fight each other as well, which will help me come back up to them. But for now, it's just get some clean laps in. I'm in clean air. There's 6 seconds in front and behind me. Maybe I'm better in clean air and I can put down some really decent lap times as I completely skiff the apex of tower, and then just to add insult to injury, end up in the sand and grass on the outside of it. So that was a bit of a mess, and that again adds another second of fresh air between me and the cars ahead of me, at least in theory, but there's still so much that can go wrong. We're now right in the middle of a GT3s, and it's going to happen all over again at some point in the race. It's one of the things about multi-class is that it doesn't matter how the first stint goes, it's when the two classes start to meet and mingle, that's when you end up with some interesting things going on. As I spot Fisher in the fellow Porsche up ahead has had some sort of incident, and he's now only a second and a bit ahead of me. I can just about squeeze past his Lambo for turn 1 quite happily, and yeah, that's him gone. A freebie delivered fresh to my door. Clearly some sort of damage to one of the back end suspensions or something. Probably knackered the car out and meant that he lost it on turn 1 the first time he tried it. But a shame not to actually result in a chase, but once again, just a moment ago I was 11th, looking pretty miserable about it. Now I'm 10th, and maybe there's more to come from there. So I'm gonna step back from the mic again and give the car some time to speak, and then I'll pick up the commentary again when there's something more to say. It's not going to be long, and it's well worth it, so stick around. Right, stepping back in as I slip past this Lambo. Really, really helpful traffic there, miles away from any corner. The BMW ahead. It's gone well off piste. He's completely overcooked it into that hairpin, which is really easy to do, by the way. It's one of the hardest braking zones on the track, and these hypercars do seem to really want to skate on their brakes. They require earlier braking than you'd ever think. But that's brought him right up to me, and you know, or at least I do, that one mistake can breed another. It can quickly multiply if the pressure is applied. So now I'm just trying to focus and lock in and really make him feel like his position is under threat, and it's just causing him to skiff over every corner, miss his lines, overcook it, and now we're so close. It's really in the danger zone now, and also the BMW ahead of him has also somehow come towards us. So out of nowhere, we now have one car that's within biting distance as we try and tuck underneath under the slipstream. Wonder if there's enough room there. He moves over to cover it. I stay on the outside hoping to see him sail past maybe and open up a gap on the inside, which is sort of what happens, but then he squeezes that line off on the wall, make a little bit of contact on him, keep tucked underneath, move over, but I'm thinking, can I go with him into protecting the inside too much? He does. He sails completely wide off the apex, opening the door for me to cut back underneath and get that position away from him, just because I, like some kind of crazy matador, just tempted him to cover that inside more to defend against any kind of crazy moves from me. But that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The further inside you defend, the harder it is for you to protect your position on the exit, and that worked out beautifully. But some kind of crazy lunge, really, really confident on the brakes, he manages to just sneak past me again on a hairpin. It's really surprising how easily he did that. I didn't expect him to make a move from so far back. I did feel like I was tentative on the brakes in a hairpin throughout the race so far, but going any further in felt really risky. So maybe that BMW is confidence inspiring on the brakes, but respect to him for taking that position back as quickly as I got it. It really was rather unexpected. I didn't leave the door open because I didn't think he was going to do so well under the brakes and come from so far away. Only minor contact between me and him on that hairpin, and we can live to fight another day. Onto the longest straight on the track once again, and now the position is basically the same as the lap before but worse. We're now further back from him, so we need to catch and then kill once again. So an exciting lap by all means, taking that position in a really satisfying way and then losing it in one of the least satisfying ways imaginable. Purely preventable from me. So I maybe need to learn some lessons from that and try and at least look like I want to defend my position if that happens again. Noted for future reference. So if I do get past this fella again, he ain't going to get past me the same way, and I think I'll probably end up having a taste of my own medicine when it comes to overtaking him as well. Really, really up underneath him there. The first sector of Sebring I seem to do quite well. It's sticking close to the apex on turn 2, I believe it is. A weave out to see if I can distract him into making some kind of mistake. It seems to work immediately. Mega pleased with that. Just looking like I'm going to do some kind of silly lunge was enough to just knock him off his line. Maybe it was always going to happen. Maybe that was just an organic mistake. I hold the middle to keep him away from another lunge, and if you were looking at the mirrors then, you saw him go way off track. He's basically overcooked it himself in his mission to get back past me, rather. Well, that was a crazy brain fart. But Mr. Cervenka is now 3 seconds behind. Don't have to worry about him anymore. And now I just have to focus on Mr. Fratine in front of me, if that is how you pronounce it. He's bottled up behind that Lamborghini through the last turn onto the long straight before we head to Sunset Bend. The Lambo in front flashing, presumably out of displeasure. So maybe that BMW was a bit frantic to get past him. We catch up to the Mustang in the middle of Sunset Bend. Very hairy moment there. I thought I was going to lose it for a second. but gathered it up. And the Mustang does that odd thing that some GT3s do, where they shy away from the normal line, thinking they're going to be helpful, because I was aiming to cut underneath them, and the Mustang tightened his line, which meant it was no longer the best thing to do there, so I had to just dart my way onto the outside of him anyway. A little bit confusing, I don't like it when they do that. But now another target, another BMW, and I feel emboldened by the way I got past Sebring. Even though he got past me again, that overtake was one that really sort of revitalised me, reminding me I still got it, and you need these little things to make you happy in the middle of a race where something has already gone wrong, losing the back end and having to re-overtake these folks. It's quite annoying. But now the BMW ahead of the BMW has caused him a bit of a nightmare. This is what I mean. The traffic gives and the traffic takes, and it has given me a nice gift wrap present of allowing me to get right up underneath the car ahead. That must have gained me a second, if not two, to really get right into the rear diffuser run now in slipstream range, and we're about to head onto one of the biggest straights in the entire track as he seems to really crawl through this last bunch of corners. I don't know where that gap came from, but it's down and he's made a mess of it. He's made a mess of it going onto the longest straight, and I have got the speed to get past him through momentum alone. He really, really did spoon it. That BMW GT3 must have just angered him somehow, giving him something to really shake his fist at, as I also don't have the best time coming out of Sunset Bend, but it was just enough to get ahead of him. I've got my eye on the mirror now because he might have the slipstream to do something about it into turn one, but no, doesn't look like it. He also doesn't do so well coming out of that. He's now half a second a little bit more behind me, and I know I'm going to be able to shake him even more through this section now. That appears to be true. He's now up to 0.7, 0.6 behind. So now that gap is kind of established. I don't feel that fear of a reprisal from 13 behind, but I know that once they gather themselves up and pick their socks up, as I have a mother of all low speed slides through the hairpin, and you know how dangerous they are in cars like this. They just seem to come out of nowhere and are just unrecoverable. Snaps under braking, really, really horrible. And now I am the one to receive a badly timed GT3 through the turn 11 and 12. Going around the outside seems to be the way to do it, but it's quite risky. Into tower, there's a stricken Porsche. No, not a stricken Porsche, stricken Ferrari. We can tell by that sort of mid-height, full width tail light. This is getting interesting now. We've got cars making mistakes left, right, and centre. There's something in the water now, as I also do my best impression of Tony Hawk on that curb on the inside. This could be something. That Ferrari is only a second ahead. It's within fighting distance if I can make a few good laps now, and mistakes breed mistakes. He's probably going to have some kind of incident or other scrappiness that's going to allow me to gain more time. So the momentum is now with me, as that BMW really did him no favours through sunset as well. 0.7 now the gap between me and Sandor ahead, and he's got also another painful GT3 traffic in front of him. I get so excited that I almost lose the back end. And look at this, Multiclass. It's a cruel mistress, isn't it? It'll either give you joy or pain. Barely ever is it in the middle. This is exciting now. We've got about 6 or 7 minutes left of the race at this point, and now I'm in striking distance of the Ferrari of Sandor ahead. We've got GT3s coming at us thick and fast. I get just so excited when there's this kind of scenario, because the chase is now on. And like I said earlier, it's not red mist, it's something else entirely. It's just pure focus. It's pure focus onto the back of the car ahead. The track almost fades into insignificance. You don't care about your lines anymore. You don't even care about your track limits anymore. You're really scrappy with it. Makes it all the more fun, but it just means that you end up making some sort of error that will spoil the ever decreasing gap between us now. Really good run up to the back of him. He seems to be low on top end for some reason. We can't see the front of that Ferrari. Maybe it's got a few non-spec crumple zones added to it along the way. Maybe that's the reason why he is now back with me here instead of where he should have been, about 4 or 5 seconds at the road. Mustang, just a little bit tentative there. I wasn't sure whether he was going to go or not. Really weird behaviour from a Ferrari ahead of us as well. It's almost looked like he clipped the inside of Sunset. Very odd. But we're now driving completely headless. We are brainless chickens right now because he does not want to lose the space to me, and I can smell blood in the water completely. Side by side with a Corvette. Sandor cuts the grass. No way for me to get in and take advantage of that though, but again he's off already. It's really like do or die driving from the Ferrari of Sandor ahead. Now I'm loving this. We're now side by side going into the hairpin. I get a little bit ahead, but I know he's going to Hail Mary this into the hairpin, try and cut underneath, and I do get the run, but all it results in is a little tap on the back end, and we're now back to our little stalemate. Moving out from beside him to try and cover the inside and get past him that way. He gets a great drive though out of turn 10, going for 11 and 12 and heading into tower. This is great. This is now just glancing blows. This is a real duel of sorts. Bad exit from tower gives him the space, the breathing room to come away from me, but if that last lap was as I completely chopped that curb like it just wasn't there, I'm completely focused on him. I'm not even focused on the track. Just excitement all around. It's fizzing. Get a good run onto the long straight again. I'm trying to keep him kettled onto the right hand side of the track, but he does sort of start to shuffle over, moving onto the normal line for Sunset. He's deep on the inside, and I'm wondering if there's going to be any scope to cut underneath him. Not quite. The traction on his Ferrari seems to be better out of Sunset than mine did, at least on that particular instance, but he's down on top end. I'm getting a run on him in the fresh air, and we both basically just decide that we want to be in a separate continent to the apex of turn 1. We do not care about the track, we do not care about anything else, we just care about each other, and we are both taking each other down with this frenzied do or die driving right now. It's the best. At the time, we're watching the replay back, but at the time this was just the best prototype racing I'd ever had, even if it was a little bit ugly at times. Another weave to try and get him to get into a mistake, braking. There's no ABS on these hypercars, so if you're going to get somebody to make a unforced error, it's probably going to be under brakes. And once again, we come to blows, and a bit of fresh air is now established again between us. But this is exciting. This is brilliant. We are both doing it so badly. The BMW that's now sitting behind us, half a second behind, I barely even noticed he was there, but he must have been watching this thinking, man, these guys are just kind of taking lumps out of each other, and it's going to end badly somehow, surely. Moving into the last sector of Sebring, once again, these corners I've really had an issue nailing at times. They're not usually my friend, but the long straight at the back of a circuit and Sunset Bend tend to be the areas where I make up ground again, especially on that Ferrari ahead, which seems to be down on aero. Creeping up slowly, 0.3, 0.2 into Sunset. All I want to do is stay with him and capitalise on a mistake, because he's driving angry, I'm driving excited, and together we are resulting in a prototype boxing match that simply shouldn't happen. Catching him into turn 1, hoping that little weave would distract him, but it's still not happening. He's still got me covered. It might be messy, it might be scrappy, but he has got me covered, and I cannot find a way past. And at this point, my Porsche 963 feels like those rear tyres are just turning to butter at this point. I've clearly overdriven the car in the last half of this race. Overdriven it, driven excited, not really holding anything back in reserve, and now I'm paying the price for it, because it just feels like the traction control is doing so much work, and the car doesn't feel planted really in any way, shape or form when it comes to the low speed stuff. That's where you really want that tyre grip. Horribly timed Lambo for the Ferrari ahead, and in his impatience kind of dispatches him. A bit unfortunate, but it's just a marker of how badly he does not want to give that space to me, and how much pressure he's under to try and keep it. This is fun for us, not for the Lambo anymore, unfortunately, and at least my conscience is clear. Side by side through the 2 fast turns after tower into the last sector of Sebring once again, just trying to figure it out between us. That curb seems to lift the bottom of the car up and sends me a little bit wide, but it doesn't really matter. He gets a bad exit himself, and zipping down that long straight once again, the top speed is there for me, it's not for him. Another ding on that rear quarter. We are going to sort this out one way or another. We are now going to be, the cars are white in a minute, but they're going to be black and blue by the end of this. GT3 on the outside of Sebring, outside of Sunset, doesn't interfere, doesn't get in the way. Thank goodness for that. It would be an awful time now to have a badly timed GT3 to split this battle up, because I'm having so much fun. Turn 1, once again a place where I'm really confident, and turn 2, 3, 4, once again really confident through these corners. I seem to really gain some time. Not that you can really do much with it there, but it does at least get me back onto the back end of whoever I'm chasing. But he gets a great drive out of there, and I'm now back once again with a few good tenths of just nothing but fresh air between us. At this point I'm just thinking, just control the braking into the hairpin, don't overdo it, don't overcook it, because all that's going to save me now is not making a mistake. He's making mistakes. If I just calm down a little bit and wait for my moment, maybe I can do something here. Oh, and another thing, this is the last lap. This is the last lap. So if anything's going to happen, it's going to be now. He's going to be sweating, just trying not to make any missteps, no wrong steps. Going into tower, this is one of the most technical corners. If you're going to get it wrong, it's going to be here. He seems to really struggle through that, and he gets on the grass in the exit. All of a sudden, somehow out of nowhere, get a really good run on him, chop that inside curb, hope I don't drift wide and make contact with him. Side by side now through these following turns. I don't want to give it up. I do not want to give it up. I'm not going to back out. I'm going to cover that inside for the last corner before the long straight into Sunset Bend. What on earth? How did that even happen? How did I manage that? But he's now 3 tenths behind me. He's covering off from the BMW behind him, so he's no longer trying to... He has no chance to get retribution on me. He's got to worry about the BMW behind him, who looks also to get past him. Unbelievable. What an amazing last lap this is. Go across a checkered flag, and I am just so pumped with this. If I could have 40 minutes like that again and again, I would. What an amazing hypercar race that was. It just got better and better. With the sun going down at Sebring, just everything. This race had everything for me. I absolutely blooming loved it. And there we go, a race so good that I had to run to the replay to show you all. Let me know what you think of the video format again. I'll do more of these because I wanna build a muscle that I currently do not have, which is the ability to just run and gun on the microphone while the action is going on. You know, getting better as you go along. You don't get good at nothing unless you practice, so this is me practicing. And thanks for watching, cheers again.